Before iron hulls and synthetic coatings, medieval shipbuilders sent wooden vessels into the North Sea, the Baltic, the Atlantic, and the Mediterranean for decades of service. These ships faced salt, storms, worms, and constant wet-dry cycles that destroy untreated wood in just a few seasons. Yet archaeology keeps pulling up hulls that are still structurally sound centuries later. This was not luck, and it was not a single miracle substance. It was a protocol, followed step by step, refined by failure, and passed down through guilds rather than books. If you value this kind of foundational knowledge, subscribe to In the Beginning, because what follows explains how medieval builders preserved wood in conditions modern sealants still struggle to survive. Medieval shipbuilders treated wood as a living material even after the tree was felled. The protocol began before construction ever started. Medieval builders selected trees in winter, when sap was lowest and sugars that attract rot organisms were reduced. Logs were not rushed into use. They were seasoned slowly, often partially buried or stacked in shaded airflow to prevent surface cracking while internal moisture equalized. This prevented stress fractures that later allowed saltwater intrusion. Builders understood that wood which dries too fast becomes brittle. Their goal was controlled flexibility, not hardness. This mindset shaped every step that followed. Heat, smoke, and time formed the first line of preservation. Before planks were fitted to a hull, they were often exposed to smoke and low heat. Shipyards burned resinous woods nearby, bathing timbers in phenolic compounds released by smoke. These compounds are now known to inhibit fungi and bacteria, but medieval builders learned their value through observation. Heat drove out remaining moisture while opening wood pores. Smoke deposited preservative compounds deep into surface fibers. This process was slow, sometimes taking weeks, but it fundamentally altered how wood responded to water. Oils, tars and fats were applied as a system, not a coating. The most misunderstood part of medieval preservation is the use of tar and oil. These were never meant to form a hard outer shell. Pine tar, fish oil, animal fats and plant oils were warmed and applied repeatedly while the wood was still receptive. The objective was saturation, not shine. Warm oils penetrated deep into the grain, replacing water rather than sealing it out. This prevented the swelling and shrinking that destroys wood over time. Salt water could wet the surface, but it could not easily displace the oils within. Seams were protected before planks ever touched the sea. Caulking was not an afterthought. Seams between planks were packed with fibres such as flax, hemp, moss or animal hair, then impregnated with tar. This created joints that expanded when wet, tightening under pressure rather than opening. This approach meant ships became more watertight in use, not less. Modern rigid sealants often do the opposite, cracking as hulls flex. Biological protection was, really built into the hull environment. Shipbuilders understood that rot thrives where oxygen, moisture and nutrients all come together. Their protocol cleverly disrupted this triangle. Oil-saturated wood, for example, denied oxygen to decay organisms. Tars, on the other hand, introduced antifungal compounds. And, well, regular exposure to salt water further suppressed many terrestrial fungi. Some builders even, interestingly enough, encouraged benign marine growth on hulls, which acted as a sacrificial layer, protecting the wood beneath. This was, you might say, managed rather than fought. Maintenance was continuous and expected, really, not something to be postponed. Medieval preservation did not end at launch, not at all. Ships were hauled out regularly, hulls were dried, re-smoked when possible, and re-oiled. Damaged areas were repaired immediately, preventing small failures from spreading. You know, this maintenance culture was actually a key reason ships lasted so long. Builders always assumed that wood required care, just as much as sails and rigging did. In their eyes, neglect, not age, was really seen as the true enemy. These methods, well, they're not obsolete at all. Anyone working with boats, docks, outdoor timber structures, or even heritage buildings can, adapt them. It's wise to select untreated wood and allow it to season naturally. If you can, avoid rapid kiln drying. Instead, apply heat gently, maybe through sun exposure or warm environments, before oiling. It's best to use penetrating oils rather than those film-forming sealants. And remember, reapply periodically instead of waiting for visible failure. Always protect joints and end grain first, just as medieval builders did. Most importantly, accept that maintenance is part of longevity, not a sign of poor design. Archaeological evidence, yes, it confirms the protocol worked. You see, recovered medieval ships consistently show oil and tar residues deep within the wood fibres. Even when the outer layers are, well, degraded, the inner structures remain flexible and intact. This is, indeed, the signature of saturation-based preservation, not just surface treatment. In contrast, many modern vessels, fail from internal rot that's hidden beneath intact-looking coatings. Medieval builders, well, they avoided this trap entirely. The deeper lesson, really, is hidden in medieval shipyards. The true secret wasn't just pine tar or smoke alone. It was systems thinking. Medieval shipbuilders understood materials, environment and time as a single equation. Their protocol worked because it actually aligned with how wood behaves in the real world, not just how builders wished it behaved. And that, honestly, is why their ships survived conditions that should have destroyed them. If this kind of deep historical knowledge adds value to how you understand the past and its relevance today, do consider subscribing to In the Beginning and share this guide with others who believe the most advanced solutions are, quite often, the oldest ones refined by experience.